Hey guys, so I hope most of you have returned back from your break. So, what we saw until now are some of the basic user level functions that are available inside Zoho Mail. We looked at a basic overview of your mailbox as such and how to go about configuring external accounts inside Zoho Mail. What we'll be going with in the later part of the session and what we're going to start now is the Zoho Mail control panel. The Zoho Mail control panel is what only the administrator or the super administrator will have access to. We'll be talking about all the features that are available inside the control panel now. So before we start with that, let me quickly and briefly probably discuss some of the biggest challenges any administrator faces. So these are some of the points that we've collected by talking to a lot of you guys and to a lot of customers over multiple years. So we understand and we empathize with you that these are some real problems, and we've been trying to sort it out as best as we can. So the first and foremost issue that any administrator faces is the idea of getting your organization and the members in your organization used to a new email provider. The idea of a new email provider itself seems daunting because it's a new environment to learn, and why change when everything is still okay, right? That's what a lot of people think, and we understand that a lot of people think that. uh, can you guys not hear me? Is there an issue with the audio? Okay, I'm going to refresh my screen and make sure it's fine. Give me a yes in the chat section if you guys are able to hear me. I've just refreshed my screen and it seems to be working fine. All right, so I've been receiving some yeses in the chat section. So I'll proceed with some of the biggest challenges any administrator faces. So what I was talking about before you guys could hear me was that we will be proceeding with discussing the features that are available in the control panel of Zoho Mail. So these are features that are available only to the administrators and super administrators. Only they will be able to access the control panel. So before we move on, let me quickly discuss some of the challenges any administrator faces. These are some problems that we've spoken to a lot of you guys and a lot of customers, and we've collected this over time, and we put this together. So the first issue is that getting your organization and all the members in your organization used to the idea of a new email environment as such. That can be very daunting. So everybody just thinks, why move to a new environment and everything is working perfectly fine, right? So that is the mentality a lot of people have, and we fully empathize with that. We understand that. The next is onboarding and managing users. Onboarding all your users, getting them acquainted with the new system, and managing these users and allocating the required roles and privileges for each of these users. That again can be a huge issue. That is something that just getting them used to a new environment itself is going to be difficult, and when you have to get them familiar with the new emailing environment, it can be a huge challenge as well. Next is setting up the customizations that your business needs. Say, for example, you might be moving to Zoho Mail because you're happy with some of the functionalities and the features that we're providing, right? But that might still require some level of setting up before you start using it. So, setting that up can again be quite difficult. We promise to make this as easy as we can for you, but it's just another process again, right? So other than that, you will have to, even though you might be moving to a new provider, you will have to get yourself accustomed to moving from the old email provider, and there might still be some things that you love about your old email provider. You will want to try your best to retain the same functionalities here inside Zoho Mail. So keeping those customizations intact again could be a problem. And finally, migrating existing data. This is the most daunting of the lot. We know that migration can be a huge setback for a lot of you guys. We promise to make this as simple as we can. We are going to be running you through the migration process, the different types of migration that we have in the migration process in detail. So moving on, let me quickly tell you how Zoho Mail helps you rectify these problems. So even when you're migrating this data, migrating all your data from the old provider to the new one, there is zero disruption to any of your business operations when this is going on. Then there is increased transparency in the control panel. What we mean by increased transparency is, at first look, at just a single glance, you get to know all the functionalities that are there, and you know where to go to find all the functionalities that you need. You're not going to keep looking around for something, and you're not going to end up not finding it at all. So it's a very straightforward interface. It's something that you can get through with ease. And there is reduced effort and increased efficiency when you're managing your users. You do not have to keep spending time making sure that all your customizations and configurations are intact, all your user settings are intact. It's just a one-time thing, so you will not have to keep doing it over and over again. So overall, the control panel in Zoho Mail is an end-to-end solution which takes care of all of an admin's requirements. So let us move through the next step in the agenda, which is hosting your domain. So before we move ahead with this, there is another quick poll that I would like to run. So we know that a lot of you here are huge Zoho Mail fans. I can see it in the chat section, and I see that a lot of you are already interested in using Zoho Mail. So we would like to know if you'd like to spread the word about Zoho Mail by working with us on a customer testimonial. Spread the goodwill and spread word about us by working with us on a customer testimonial. So this is not something that we can showcase just on our Zoho Workplace or Mail website. It's something that will work well for your website as well. It will also be a good case study or a customer success story that you can add to your website. So if you do give in a yes, we will make sure that we get in touch with you, and we can come up with something together. We can come up with some interesting success stories and solutions together. So we are super eager to be working with some of you. Please let us know how you'd like to go about this. We'll be evaluating. If you have given in a yes, we'll get in touch with you. We'll probably prepare a questionnaire, and we'll get in touch with you. And we'll be evaluating how best we can proceed forward with this on a case-by-case basis. So I'm just going to give it another minute before I proceed with the training. We are getting a good number of yeses. Thank you, guys. We will personally reach out to each of you. Again, this is not just something that is going to be there on Zoho's website. This is something that you can showcase on your website as well. We can talk about how best Workplace has helped someone change their business, or how best it's worked to make their business super productive. Thank you, guys. We are now going to proceed with the training. So hosting your domain is one of the primary processes in setting up when you are setting up a new email provider. So basically what you do when you're hosting your domain is complete all your domain configuration processes before you move ahead with using Zoho Mail as your primary email service provider. So this happens in 5 basic steps. The first one is to verify your domain. When you are verifying your domain, you're going to prove that you are the actual owner of the domain to Zoho Mail. So there is a domain, and we know that there is a domain that you own, and we know that you want to work with Zoho Mail on configuring your email for it. But we need to know that you are the actual owner of the domain before we proceed with the process. So in domain verification, you will be proving that you're the owner of the domain. Next, you'll be adding all your users in the previous email provider into your new email service provider as well. By new email service provider, we mean Zoho Mail here. There are multiple methods that you can use for adding your users to Zoho Mail. We'll be covering each of that in detail. And then there is group addition. You want to groups or distribution list, as some of you may know. How can you best migrate these groups from your legacy email service to your Zoho Mail accounts? The fourth step is email delivery configuration. In email delivery configuration, we'll be talking about how you can add your MX records such that all your emails are correctly routed to Zoho Mail servers. And finally, there is the data migration process. We'll be covering data migration in detail too. There are multiple ways in which you can migrate your data to Zoho Mail. We'll be walking you through each of them in detail. So the first step is the domain verification process. There are multiple ways in which you can do this. I'll walk you through each one of them now. There is one-click verification. So one-click verification is a fairly new process that we've come up with. It's right now it is available for one-on-one domains and for GoDaddy domains alone. It's not available for all the domain providers. So what you do when you're doing the one-click verification method is you're basically authorizing your DNS provider. You're basically authorizing such that we have access. Zoho Mail has access to your DNS provider so that we ourselves can go and add the values that are respectively needed for both the domain verification and the MX record addition process. So if you are going to be using the one-click verification, there is very less work on your side. We will do most of the work once you give us access to your DNS provider. The next is the CNAME method. So the CNAME method, what you'll have to do is you'll simply have to log into your DNS manager and you'll have to add a record that we give you inside the DNS provider. The next is the HTML method. In the HTML method, you'll simply have to upload a file that we give you into a specific folder inside your website. And finally, there's the TXT method, where you'll have to add again a generated value that we give you inside your DNS provider. So as you can see, CNAME method and TXT methods are methods in which you will have to add a certain value that we from Zoho Mail give you inside your DNS manager. The other two methods are slightly different. In HTML method, you'll simply have to upload a file that we give you inside the specific folder. And in one-click verification, you'll simply have to give us access to your DNS manager. You'll have to authorize us to add these values inside the DNS manager. So it's pretty simple. And domain verification is just a one-time process. So in case you are moving to a new email provider, you will not have to verify your domain with us again. Once domain verification has been done, we will not have you do it again in case you're moving to a new provider. So you can be very clear that this is a one-time process. And even after the verification has been done on the Zoho end, even if you remove your value from the DNS provider, it does not matter. So now I'll quickly show you a video about how you can go ahead and configure the domain, go ahead and do the domain verification process using the CNAME and TXT methods. Are you guys able to see the video? I'll start playing it now if you can. You can see that there is an option to buy a new domain, or you can sign up with a domain that you already own. The buy domain option right now is available only for users in the US data center. Not all accounts will have this access. So now I'm going to go ahead and sign up with a domain that I already own. I enter the name of the domain and click on add. I complete all the basic first level process such as registering and the payment process. You would have received a verification code on your mobile number. You'll have to enter it. And then you'll have to enter the number of users that you want to add. And finally click on confirm. So this is the setup flow that you will be coming to when you are setting up a domain. Once all the payment procedure and the registration procedure has been completed, this is where you'll perform the entire domain setup flow. You can see here that you have the option to verify the domain. Right now we are in the verifying domain phase of it. You can view the name of the domain that you've added. There is also an edit option here in case you want to go ahead and edit the name of the domain in case you've added the wrong domain name. Here you can see that there is a drop down containing most of the major domain providers. Right now, the account that I'm going to use is configured with GoDaddy, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that. You will see that there are GoDaddy specific instructions displayed on screen. So before I can go ahead and verify the domain, I'll have to log into my GoDaddy account. I'll log into my GoDaddy account now and I'll click on Manage DNS. In the DNS records section, you'll have to add a new record. Click on Add and choose CNAME here. Right now, we are going to show you how to do the CNAME verification. You can see that the values have been given here clearly. You just have to enter this value containing the ZB code in the host section, and you have to enter the points to value in the respective section. Finally, you simply add it. Likewise, the method for TXT is also fairly similar. You'll have to go and add a new record. Choose the TXT record here. Enter the values that are displayed there in the respective fields. Enter the TXT value and click on Save. You can see here that the procedure for CNAME and TXT verification is very similar. Once you're sure that the values have propagated, you can click on Proceed to TXT verification. So that is about the domain verification process. Like I already said, domain verification is a one-time thing and you will not have to repeat it in case you're moving to a new email provider. To a new domain provider. So there are multiple cases in which, even though you followed all the steps that we have prescribed, there might be some cases when the domain verification does not work properly. So how can you go about and do a preliminary troubleshooting of the domain verification process? In case it doesn't work, these are some of the preliminary checks that you should be doing by yourself. So the first one is to make sure that you know the different ways in which you can add records. So each domain provider has its own way of adding these records. So you can go ahead and take a look at how best you can add these records specific to domain providers in the help documents of the specific account in the specific domain providers. Next, you will see that there is you have to make sure that the CNAME or TXT records. CNAME and TXT records are the two records, are the two methods in which we are making use of a ZB code. And additionally, these are the two methods in which you are going ahead and adding values inside a DNS provider. So in case you're using one of these methods, make sure that the name you're adding these values where the name servers are pointed. So sometimes there might be cases where there might be cases where your name servers are hosted with a different server, different domain server, and your domain as such is hosted with a different DNS provider. In that case, this could have happened for multiple reasons. You might have changed it because you're hosting your domain or for any other reason. So in cases like that, make sure that you do a name server lookup. In case you have a doubt, just do a simple name server lookup. And after you do that, make sure that you're adding your CNAME or TXT values where the name servers are pointed to. Next, you need to make sure that you're setting the value of TTL to an optimum value. You can probably set a value of 600 seconds so that it does not take too long to propagate. And finally, we know that this is very simple and it's not even something that we should probably be telling you. But sometimes we also notice cases where the domain name has been added wrongly. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes when you're adding your domain name. So that is about domain verification. Like we already saw, there are 4 methods in which you can do this. Take a look at each of the methods that we've prescribed and go about using the one that is easiest for you. I repeat that these are just 4 methods using which you can do the domain verification. You need not do all of these methods to verify your domain. So after domain verification comes the step where you have to add your users. There are multiple ways again in which you can add users to Zoho Mail. You simply have to move all your users that exist on your legacy server to your Zoho Mail accounts. There are multiple ways in which you can do this, and I'll be walking you through each of these steps. The first is to add your users manually. In case there are just 5 or 10 users that you want to add to an organization, you need not go through any complicated procedure. You can simply add each of these users manually if you see that that is not too time consuming. The next is to import your users from a CSV file. So in case you have all your user details exported into a CSV file from your previous email provider, you can simply take that CSV file and import it into Zoho Mail so that all the user details are populated. For the CSV file method, we do have a sample file that you can take a look at if you want to know the correct format in which you want to upload the users to Zoho Mail. So I will be showing you a quick demo of both these methods now. So I'm going to play a video now. I click on create account from the add users section. This is again the domain setup flow that we are in. You can also choose to do this at a later time by skipping it during the domain setup flow. This is the manual addition process. You'll have to enter the details of each of your users, and you will have to choose the email address and the domain in which, in case you have multiple domains configured, you'll have to choose the domain where you want to add this particular user. If you can also choose the force user to change password option. What this does is, so say that you're setting a very basic password for the user that you're creating. For security reasons, you want them to change your password right when they log in. You have to choose this button, and they will be prompted to change their password when they are logging in. And you click on OK. This adds your user. This is how you go about adding a user manually. You can also see that there is an option to invite a user through an existing email address right below here. So next, what we're going to look at is the CSV import process for users. Click on import user using CSV. You'll see here that there is a button from which you can download a sample CSV file. You can simply just download a sample file and you can fill in all the details related to the user in this file itself. After you've done that, you can simply choose the file, choose the domain you want to import this file to. You can choose to force users to change password even when you're using this method. And you finally click on OK. So the import will be scheduled now, and the import process for these users will be taken up gradually. So that was about the user addition process. So the next method that we have for user addition is importing users directly from G Suite. So we do have some direct G Suite specific methods, since there are a lot of users who've been telling us that customers that have been telling us that they can recruit a lot of customers from G Suite if we have easier migration methods. So we've come up with some G Suite specific migration methods. So instead of using any of the above prescribed methods for G Suite migration, you can simply use the import user from G Suite option. So when you're using the G Suite specific methods, there is one authentication procedure that you will have to do. This has been mandated by Google to authorize your accounts to authorize any accounts to get data from G Suite. So it's a fairly long process. I will be walking you through it step by step, but it's not something that you can easily get a hold of. It's not something that you can easily understand. I do tell you that. So just relax and watch the video about how to go about this process. We will also be uploading this video to the handout section later, so you can also take a look at it there later if you have any doubts. So let me just start this authorization video now. And just to remind you, if you do this authorization once, you can proceed with migrating your users, groups, and data from G Suite just with this single authorization process. Once this authorization is done, you can simply go ahead and import all your data from G Suite. So even though it might be a fairly long process, it's totally worth it since you are getting it all done in once. I'll go ahead and share the video for G Suite authentication now. So before I start the video, I'll give you a very basic intro of what we're going to do in the authentication process. So when you're authenticating a Zoho Mail account to access your G Suite data, you are going to be doing three major steps. The first will be to create a service account. So you're basically creating an app in the Google Cloud Platform, and you're giving this app the required API access. And finally, you're going to give this app the required access to migrate your data from G Suite to Zoho Mail. Let me play the video for you guys now. You'll have to click on Authenticate first. You'll have to go ahead and create a service account. And you'll have to give the necessary role. And finally, you'll have to give the API access. So let me elaborately walk you through it now. Just log into mailadmin.zoho.com. You will have to go to user details. Since we are doing the import user from G Suite part first, we are doing the authentication process from here. Go to from G Suite. And here you see that there is an option where you can choose to authenticate your G Suite account. Click on authenticate using G Suite. So you see here that there are three important fields here. You will have to enter data in these three fields before you proceed with the migration, just for authentication purpose. So what we are going to do now is to get the data for these three fields by doing the authentication process. You will have to log into the Google Cloud Platform now. We're going to do just that. Do not worry about not having the links for all these. We have all of these in our help documentation. We'll be happy to help you with it in case you do need it. You go to service accounts. Here you create a new project first. Enter a name of your convenience for the project and create a new service account. You can see here that I'm also just entering a name, a simple name and a description, all as per your convenience. This is just for your reference. And click create. After you've created the service account, you're going to go ahead and select a specific role. You're going to select the owner role and you continue. Then you go ahead and create a key. You select the P12 option and click on create. So what happens when you create a key is a file gets downloaded into your system. Make sure you save a copy of this file onto your system for later use in the migration process. I repeat, make sure that you save a copy of the file that gets downloaded after you create the key. And click on done. Click on the email address. You see that we clicked on an email address to get to this page. Also, please make sure that you save this email address somewhere for later reference. We will be needing this during the migration too. After you click on edit, go ahead and enable domain-wide delegation. After you've enabled domain-wide delegation, There you can see on screen that there is also a field called unique ID. We will be needing this later for the authentication process, so make sure you save this too. The unique ID will be the client ID that you'll be using later in the process. Enter the product name and click on save. So once you've done this, you will have to go back to the Google Developer Console and give some API access. You'll have to enable Gmail API access, Google Calendar API access, Contacts API access, CalDAV API access, and Admin SDK API access. Once all this has been enabled, we are on to the final authentication process. So what we did right now, let me quickly recap. What we did right now was just create a Google Developer Console service account, and we've given it the required API access. Finally, we are going to be giving it the required permission to access your G Suite data and bring it into Zoho Mail for the migration. So you see here that I'm going to manage client API access. So you remember that I asked you to say if the unique ID that was displayed on your screen, enter that ID here in the client name field. And you will have to enter some data that is available in our help page in the one or more API scope section. You can go click on this hyperlink and take a look at the help page. Click authorize. Go to settings and enable API permissions for the applications that you see on the screen. So this almost completes the authorization process. So once this has been done, you just have some work left in the Zoho Mail admin console that you have to complete. You can see here that 3 specific values are required. You'll have to enter the G Suite super admin email address. We are already aware of this. You'll simply have to enter that. And in the service account email address, you remember that I asked you to save an email address that was generated for the service account. You'll have to enter that here. And in the secret key file, you'll have to choose the file that you had downloaded onto your system, that got downloaded onto your system when you generated the key. So simply upload that and click on authenticate. This completes the authentication process. Like I already said, we understand that this is a fairly complex process, so do not worry about not getting it right. We will give you this video later for reference and you can take a look at it to know more about it. So this is a one-time process, and after you have done this authentication process once, you can go ahead and migrate all the users, groups, and data from G Suite. So even though it might be a fairly long process, it's totally worth it. So now that we're done with the authentication process, I'll show you how to go about migrating your users from G Suite to Zoho Mail. You click on, once you've logged into your admin console, you go to the user details section and you choose import user from G Suite. We saw the authenticate G Suite account button here, but given that authentication has already been done, we right now see the import users button. Click on import users. So in case you have multiple domains configured with your account, you will have to map the domains in G Suite to the domains inside Zoho Mail. So say in G Suite you had three domains configured, and say in Zoho Mail you have 1 or 2 domains configured. You will have to map which domains data has to go into which domains in Zoho Mail. This option will be there only if you have multiple domains configured inside Zoho. If you have just one, we will just choose the default one domain that you have and we'll move ahead with the process. Once you've mapped the domains, click on next. So here you see a list of all the users. These are all the users that are there in your G Suite account. You can choose to migrate certain users or you can choose to migrate all the users that are present. Right now I'm choosing certain users. You see here that I'm entering the name for the import. I'm also picking some import options if required. I can choose to migrate the email aliases and the phone numbers also. I'm entering the first login password for the import, and make sure that you ask your users to change their password after they log in. Check this default, check this checkbox. So the password that you're entering here will be the common password for all the users that you're importing. Now click on Start Import. You'll see that the import process has started. You can see more details about the import that has been scheduled in the import history section. So this is how you go about importing your users directly from G Suite to Zoho Mail. You'll have to finish the authentication process once, and after that is done, you can go ahead and migrate your users directly from G Suite. So these are the first three important processes that you can do for user addition. The next is inviting a user. We already showed you how to do that too. Next is importing users from Zoho CRM. Say you have some user who's already making use of Zoho CRM, but they do not have an account in Zoho Mail yet. You can simply import those users from CRM. And in case they're also having other Zoho services that they're using, you can simply import them from the other services as well, right inside your Zoho Mail accounts. So that was about the multiple ways in which you could add users. To quickly recap, you saw that you could add users manually or by using a CSV file. Instead of that, you can also import users from G Suite, or you can invite users. And finally, there are also options to add your users from other Zoho services as well. Now let's move on to the group addition section. So we have gone through the domain verification and the user addition section so far. Now we are going to move on to the group addition section. There are again multiple ways in which you can go about adding groups. Let me walk you through each of them. The first is manual group creation. So you can simply go and manually create each groups that you have. Say you had just one or two groups in your legacy email server. It's not going to take too much time to create them, right? In those cases, you can simply go ahead and create these groups in Zoho Mail manually. If not for manual group creation, you can simply import the groups from G Suite. Like we already told you, once you perform the authentication process, moving your users, groups, and data from G Suite is going to be fairly simple. So we saw how to do the user migration process from G Suite. So follow to that, once the authentication has been done, you can proceed with migrating your users directly from G Suite as well. Now I'll quickly show you a video of how you can go about creating groups in Zoho Mail manually. So again, this can be done either from the setup flow or from inside the control panel. Click on add group. You go to the group section and click on add group. Simply enter a name for the group. And you can see here that we have multiple access levels for groups that you are creating with Zoho Mail. Let me quickly walk you through the different access levels that are available for groups. So you can see that the first one available is everyone. So when you're giving the access level as everyone, anybody will be able to send emails to this group that you're creating. It's a public group. So say, for example, you want to create groups for support or, for example, partnership. So when you're creating a public group, all the members to whom who have this email address will be able to send emails to the group. So like I said, you can most commonly use this for support email addresses or for partnership email addresses. Next, you can see the option available here is organization members. Organization groups are mainly when you want emails to be sent to this group only by other members of the organization. It's most commonly used when when you need groups for your finance purposes, for finance within your organization, or for payroll group email addresses. For purposes like that, organization members is what you should go for. Right now, what we're seeing is the process to create a public group. So the process to create all the other groups is fairly similar. You'll just have to choose the access level according to your requirement. I'm choosing an organization members group. Like I said, this can be used mainly for finance or payroll purposes. And in case you think that a streams group might be very beneficial for groups like for a group that you are creating, go ahead and click on the enable streams option that is there right next to enable email option. So when you're doing that, all the members of this group will also have a dedicated stream space where they can communicate and collaborate. You can also use it when you have a sysadmin group. Enter some basic details and hit on create group. You can see here that there are options to create groups only where only group members can send emails or where only moderators can send emails as well. There are multiple functionalities for groups like these. When you are creating a group members only group, only the members who are part of the group will be able to send emails to this group. So this can be most commonly used for purposes like say in team collaboration. You want a marketing team inside your you want a marketing group inside your organization. You can probably choose the organization members group here group members group here, and only the members who are part of your marketing team will be able to send emails to this group email address. Likewise, the moderator only thing email group email is when, for example, take an organization-wide group. You want all members of the org to be part of this group, but all the emails that are being sent has to be moderated by the person who is the single moderator, or you can also have multiple moderators in some cases. So what you do is you do not want multiple people to be sending email to this group without exercising caution, and you don't want them to spam the group, right? So in cases like that, you go ahead and choose the moderators only option. So like I already said, streams can be very effectively used in a group space. So go ahead and click on enable streams if you feel that a group that you are creating might benefit from streams. So that was about the manual group creation options. Let me go ahead and show you a video for creating groups from G Suite now. Like I already said, if you want to create groups from G Suite, there is the simple authentication process that you will have to do. After you've done the authentication process, you can go ahead with creating users, groups, and migrating data from G Suite to Zoho Mail. So now what we're going to do is migrate the groups that are there in the G Suite account inside Zoho Mail. I go to groups. I click on import groups and choose the G Suite. So in case I had not completed the authentication process, I will have the authenticate G Suite account button here. But because I have already authenticated my Zoho Mail account to fetch data from G Suite, I have the import groups option. So now I can go ahead and click on import groups. And you can see here that you're mapping the domains in G Suite to Zoho Mail. This again will appear only if you have multiple domains configured. You'll have to choose which domains to put the data from G Suite into. If you have just one domain, you will not have this option. After you've chosen the domains, click on next. Select the groups that you would like to migrate to Zoho Mail. Again, here you see that there are options to select the entire list of groups as well. All the groups that are available in your G Suite account will be listed here. If you want to migrate all the groups as well, just click on the checkbox on top and all users will automatically be chosen for migration. Again, like with users, you can choose to migrate the group email aliases as well when you're migrating groups. Once you've finished the basic setup process, you can click on Start Import. Here you can go ahead to the import history section and you can take a look at all the imports that have been scheduled. So that was about the G Suite migration process. So the most common methods by which we can add groups to Zoho Mail are by manual group addition and the G Suite specific import group option. So other than that, there is also the import group from CSV method. In this method, you will be exporting all the details about groups inside your legacy server account into a CSV file, and you'll simply be importing that file back into Zoho Mail. So all the group details that are available in your CSV account will simply get imported back into Zoho Mail, and you can go ahead with creating new messages with your groups. So one limitation is that when you're importing users using the G Suite method, the groups that are created in Zoho Mail will be created as public groups. Later, if you want to go ahead and apply some other configuration, apply some other access level to these groups, you can do that. Here again, you can see the multiple access levels that are available with groups. So like I said, you can either let everyone send emails to the group, or you can let only organization members send emails, or you can allow only members who are part of the group to send emails, or finally you can allow only the moderators that are available to send emails. The functionalities for each of these access levels have also been mentioned along with the groups. In case you want support groups or, for example, sales groups, the best way to go about is by creating a public group. That is by giving the access level as everyone. Or in case you want payroll or finance groups, that the best way to go about is organization members. Likewise, you can see the other options as well. So there are multiple moderators that can be there for a certain group. So in case you're choosing multiple moderators, all these members will have good access levels over the entire group, and they can control the functionalities of the group. So like I already said, if you think a group that you're creating might benefit from the streams option, please make sure that you go ahead and click on enable streams when you're creating the group itself. So streams could be a very good opportunity for them to collaborate together and save some very good time. To quickly recap what we've seen until now, after we started the domain hosting process, we've covered the process of domain verification, which is to verify that you are the owner of the domain. The next is user addition process. There are multiple methods under user addition that we went through in detail. The next is the group addition process that we saw right now. So moving on, let's go to the next step in the domain hosting process, which is configuring email delivery. Configuring email delivery is again one of the most important processes, because even though you have already done some of the processes in hosting your domain, nothing is going to be working well if you do not have your emails getting relayed to the proper email server, right? So what you do when you're configuring email delivery is making sure that all the emails that are being sent to your domain are properly routed to Zoho Mail, that is your new email service provider, right? So in case you do not configure Zoho Mail to receive emails, all the emails will be relayed to your previous email provider itself, because these will be the configurations that are set in your DNS provider. You have to ensure that you go back to your DNS provider and configure email delivery to Zoho Mail. So what do you have to do to configure email delivery? You simply have to add the Zoho Mail specific MX records inside your DNS manager. These are the values that you see on screen are the listed values for Zoho Mail's MX. So you can see here that we have 3 values. Just one value is actually enough, but the reason we're giving you 3 values is because even if one of these servers is not accepting emails at a specific point in time due to some reason, the other email servers will be tried, and it will make sure that the emails find its way inside Zoho Mail servers. So the priorities also play a very important role, because the server with the lowest priority is what will be tried first. In case the server with the lowest priority does not work, or if it's not accepting emails, the servers with the higher priorities will be tried in the order, increasing order. Let me go ahead and show you a quick video for how to go and add MX records. So here you can see that I'm logging into my GoDaddy DNS provider to add my MX records. I click on Manage DNS. I click on Add to add the DNS record, and I'm choosing MX as the record type. I enter the host value and the points to value. These are values that have been shown inside your control panel or in the domain setup process. Make sure you enter the right values. Likewise, enter the other two MX record values as well. So you can see here that all the three MX values have been added with the right priorities. Before you proceed, you'll have to perform a simple MX lookup to make sure that the values have propagated correctly. Once the values have propagated, you can go ahead with the verification. So as you can see here, the values that I've shown here on screen are specific to the US data center only. So these values will not be applicable to everybody. These are not universal values. You will have to figure out the values for your specific for this accounts that you are managing from the control panel of the respective accounts. I repeat, the values that I've shown here on screen are not universal values. These are just representative of values accounts that have been hosted in the US data center. So I have already spoken to you about priorities. So let me just briefly tell you about it again. Whichever server has the lowest priority value in the DNS manager will only be tried for first. After that, the other servers will be tried in the order listed. So when you are adding the Zoho Mail specific MX records, you also have to make sure that your previous email providers records are removed from the DNS manager. If not, it might lead to a messy thing where the emails might still get routed to your previous email server. We do not want that to happen. We want your emails to perfectly get delivered to your Zoho mailbox. So make sure you've deleted any other values that you have inside the DNS manager. So in case say you have a Gmail specific MX record added and you have a lower priority added for that specific record, that is what will be tried first. That will be tried even before the MX record specific to Zoho Mail are tried. We do not want that to happen once you've moved to Zoho Mail. So make sure that you've removed the GSP specific records or any other previous email service related records from the control panel, from the DNS manager. Only the records pertaining to Zoho Mail must be there. So even though you have made sure that you've added the correct MX records, there might be some issues. So these are some preliminary troubleshooting things that you can do to make sure that the values are reflected properly. So let me walk you through each one of them. I've already spoken about the importance of priorities. So make sure that only Zoho Mail records are added and no other records with priorities lower than Zoho Mails are added. Next, make sure that local delivery is turned off in your web host. So in your web host, sometimes what happens is local delivery is turned on, and your web host thinks that the email should get delivered internally. When that is tried, the emails are not related to Zoho Mail specific servers. So make sure that you have remote delivery turned on in your web host. That will tell your web host not to deliver the emails internally and to try to deliver the emails to an external server. So others are very similar to the troubleshooting steps that you had for domain verification. Make sure that you add a proper value of TTL. And the final one is to make sure that there are different methods in which you can add MX records. Make sure that you are using the MX record addition, proper MX record addition as prescribed for the domain which you are doing this for. So all these instructions must mostly be available in the domain providers help pages. Also take a look at that before you go ahead with adding these values. So as of now, we have completed 4 of the steps in domain hosting your domain. First of which was verifying your domain. The second was to add users. The third to add groups. And what we saw now was configuring email delivery. The fifth step is to migrate your data. Like I already said, I know this is a very daunting step for many of you. I will try to simplify it as much as I can. And there are multiple ways in which this can be done. I will walk you through each one of them. The first step is IMAP or POP migration. The second is app-specific migration. So in case you're migrating from one of these apps listed here, you can use the app-specific migration method. The third is the Exchange Wizard migration. When you're using the Exchange Wizard migration, it's mostly when you have your files stored locally on your system. You can use the offline Exchange Wizard migration method, and you can simply upload your files into the wizard and go ahead with the migration. Like I said, we will go through each of these methods one by one. First is the IMAP or POP migration. So we do realize that IMAP has a lot of advantages over POP. The folder structures are retained when you're doing a POP migration, and then the email states are maintained when you're doing an IMAP migration. So we do suggest that you choose IMAP. So I'll tell you what the basic steps to be followed for an IMAP migration are. You'll have to enter the details of the source server. The first step is to enter the details of your source server. Say you're migrating from Gmail, for example, you will have to enter the source server details of your Gmail server. Then you'll have to add the migration. You'll have to import the users, or you'll have to manually add the users to be migrated. If you're importing the users, you will have to make use of a CSV file. Otherwise, you can simply add the users for the migration manually. You'll have to start the migration after this. And finally, you'll check for any failures in the migration. In case some of the migrations have failed, or migration for some of the emails have failed, you'll have to check the reports. And in case these are errors that you can rectify, you can probably rectify it and retry the migration again. So these are the basic steps when you're doing an IMAP or POP migration. I'll also show you a video for better understanding. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. I'm going to start playing the video now. As with the other processes, you can either do it when you are setting up the domain, or you can skip it and do it later in the control panel too. So you see here that I've chosen IMAP as the migration protocol, and I've entered the server name for the migration. I'm also entering the other details. And I have added the migration now. Click on the migration, and you can either choose to add the accounts for migration manually. Here you can see that you'll have to enter the source username, the password. By source username, we mean the source email address, and you'll have to enter the password. After that, you'll have to enter the destination to which these emails have to be migrated to. And finally, you click add. Here you see that there are also a lot of other options, like folder specific option or all folders option. In case you want to migrate all folders but just leave out specific folders, choose the all folders option, and mention the folders that you want to leave out in the exclude folder list. For example, spam folder. You might not want to migrate your spam folder in most cases, right? So simply mention spam in the exclude folder list. In case you want to migrate only specific folders, choose the folder specific option and enter the include folder list. You have to enter the folders that you want to migrate in this case. After you filled in all these details, click on add. Other than the manual user addition for migration, you can also simply import the users that you want to migrate into a CSV file, and you can import that into your migration. Choose the upload account option and choose the file that has all the CSV files. After that is done, you simply click on start. So that is how you perform an IMAP or POP migration. What I showed you here was an example of an IMAP migration. In case you're doing a POP migration, you can go ahead and select the POP option instead of the IMAP option that we selected in the video. So like I said, other than the IMAP or POP migration, we have app-specific migration options, the first of which will be G Suite. So the app-specific migration option is mainly available for G Suite, Office 365, and for Microsoft Exchange. We have added these services here mainly because we've been receiving a lot of migration requests from these services. So we are also in the process of adding a lot more of services. For now, this is what we have available, and I'll walk you through how to use them. The process is fairly similar to the IMAP POP migration. There are just very few differences, and I'll tell you what those are. So when you're migrating from G Suite, you have the option to select multiple kinds of data. Instead of migrating just emails, as is the case with IMAP POP migration, you can also choose to migrate your contacts and calendars along with the emails. Next, you'll have to authenticate your G Suite account with Zoho Mail. The authentication process that we did just before we migrated users from G Suite to Zoho Mail, we'll have to perform that process. But since we've already done that process, we will not be doing it again. The next is to enter the required details for verification. After we finish the authentication process, there were 3 details that we fetched from the authentication process, which we entered inside the Zoho Mail control panel. You'll have to enter those details for verification. And then you'll have to add the migration. You'll have to import the users from G Suite. So with G Suite, when you're performing the app-specific G Suite migration, the process is fairly simple. Instead of importing the users using a CSV or instead of manually adding the users, you can simply migrate the users from G Suite. You can simply fetch the users in from G Suite. Like you saw with the user or group fetch option, all the users will be listed and you can select the users that have to be migrated. And then you start the migration. After all this basic configuration has been done, you can go ahead and start the migration. After the migration is started and after the process has been completed, you can check for any reports of failure. And in case you have to rectify it, you can go back, rectify it, and try the migration again. So now I'll play a quick video for G Suite migration. You go to mailadmin.zoho.com. Select the migration option, go to add migration. You can see here that apps has been selected, and under apps you have 3 options here: G Suite, Office 365, and Exchange. I'm going with the G Suite option for this video. And below that you also see that there are multiple applications available. You have emails, contacts, and calendar. I'm selecting all the 3 migration entities, all the 3 entities for the migration. And after I've selected these details, I click on add migration. So you see that I had add migration option there. In case I have not already authenticated, I will have the authenticate G Suite account option there. I'll have to finish the authentication process and then proceed with adding the migration in that case. So here you see that there are 3 options. There is the upload accounts option, add accounts option, and the fetch users option. So since this is a G Suite migration, the fetch users option is the simplest way to go about it. I'm going to go ahead and select the fetch users option now. Select fetch users, and you can see here that the domain name has been listed. The domain names that you have in your G Suite account will be listed. I am selecting the domain name of my choice and I'm clicking on fetch users. So this will fetch all the users that have been added to this specific domain. I can go ahead and select the users that I want to do the migration for. And I click on next. So these are the user accounts that I have chosen to do the migration for. These are all this is the list of all the accounts that are there in G Suite, but I'm selecting just 2 accounts for this demo purpose now. So after you click on next, you will see that there is an option to choose for multiple options that you can choose. So in Gmail, a lot of you might already know that there is an important label. So we do not have the important label in Zoho Mail, but instead we can tag it as ZM important when you're doing the migration. If you want that, go ahead and select this. If you want to tag any starred emails as ZM start, go ahead and select the next option. You can also choose to leave out any emails that have multiple labels associated with them. So you also have a checkbox for that. You can go and select that too. And then there is a folder or option. In this option, you can choose the folder specific option or the all folders option like you did with the G Suite migration. All this is completely your choice. You can do whatever is convenient for you. You can either migrate specific emails or migrate all your emails, and click on next. After this has been done, you can go click on start to start the migration. If the migration has been completed, you can go click on the migration name, and you'll see that there are multiple reports available here. You'll see that there are reports separately for email, contacts, and calendar. You'll see the total count along with the failed count. In case there are any emails that have failed, you can go click on the failed count, and you can take a look at the reason why these emails have failed migration. Contacts, calendar, and for mail. Click on failed and you'll see the reason why some of these emails have failed to migrate. So that is how you go about migrating your data from G Suite. At this point, we would like to quickly run a poll. So this is just something to get your opinion, guys. Based on the training so far, do you think the pace has to be increased or decreased? Leave your opinion out there. So we have received a good number of votes, and it's mostly a mix of all three. So I'll try to strike a balance between all three, but since most of you seem to think that the current pace is fine, I'll try to stick to that. So, all right, guys, I'll proceed with the training now. So what we saw right now was the migration from G Suite option. So migration from Office 365 is very similar to that. You'll have to select the data to be migrated, emails, contacts, and calendars. All these three options are available. You can choose the ones that you want to migrate. Then there is one additional process as compared to G Suite. With respect to G Suite, there is an authentication process that you have to do. Instead, in Office 365, you'll have to grant the application impersonation role. So what this role does is it gives you the required access to migrate data from Office 365 to the Zoho Mail account. So whichever account will be migrating the data has to be given this access role. and you'll have to add the migration, import the users. Like with G Suite, you can simply fetch the users and start the migration. Finally, check for any reports in the migration. So as you can see, the process is very similar to G Suite, except that there is the application impersonation role additionally. So next is the migration from Exchange Server. Again, with Exchange Server, it's very similar. You'll additionally be doing the application impersonation role, and there is the extra step where you have to verify your Exchange Web Services URL. Why this additional process is, with respect to Exchange Server, every user, every account that you're trying to migrate might have a different server name, as it is the Exchange Server, right? So what we do when we are verifying the Exchange Web Services URL is we are making sure we are getting your server name right. So you'll have to do this process primarily because we need to know the name of the server that you are migrating from. And for us to know the name of the server, you have to verify your Exchange Web Services URL. After that, the rest of the process is just the same. You have to add the migration, you have to import the users. Here again, you can use the fetch users method, and you have to start the migration, and you can check for any reports of failures. So these are some of the major migration options that we have available. I will right now I'll just run a quick poll to make sure you guys are all caught up. This is a poll that I'm going to run for that is related to the topic that we just spoke about. I'm going to start the poll now. So I just told you guys about this. What do you think the Exchange Web Services URL is for? We have some votes coming in, and we have the right answers. So go ahead and cast your votes. So thank you for being for engaging with us on the polls, guys. We mostly have the right answers. So the EWS URL, or the Exchange Web Services URL, is to make sure that we can get the correct name of your Exchange server. So moving on to the next topic, we are going to be covering the final migration process and also the final step of domain setup. So this is the Exchange Migration Wizard. So with Exchange Migration Wizard, there are multiple options available again. You can either perform an Exchange migration where you can migrate your data from the Exchange server, or you can do a PST migration. In case you have all your PST files saved on your local system, you can simply upload those files into the Migration Wizard and migrate them. And finally, there is the EML migration. EML migration is very similar to PST migration. You will have to import the files that you have. You will have to upload the files that you have on your local system into the Migration Wizard. But the only difference is that in PST, you can migrate all the data entities like contacts, calendar, emails, tasks, notes. But with EML migration, you can only migrate emails. EML files are basically email files, and only those can be migrated using the EML method. Now I'll show you a quick video of how to go about migrating your data using the PST migration method. So here you can see that I've selected the PST method and I'm logging in using my Zoho credentials. This wizard is available only for Windows machines. You can either migrate multiple users or you can just migrate data for yourself. I'm selecting PST. And what I'm doing right now is choosing the list of users that I would like to migrate. You can see here that I have selected 2 users who I had saved in this txt file. You're verifying the accounts and click on next. You can browse and select the location where the PST file is located. So you can see that the PST files available for both these users have been listed. You can either choose specific folders, or you can layout specific folders by clicking on the checkbox, or you can even exclude them by mentioning it in the field below. After all the users have been populated, you can start with the migration. You'll see that the progress of the migration is being reported real time in this view. So you can see that the migration process has been completed. So that was a quick view of the analytics that are available even inside the migration visit. So that is how you go about the PST migration. So to quickly give you a recap of what we've seen until now, this was the last step in the domain setup process. You do your domain verification, you go about your user and group addition, and then you configure your MX records to make sure your emails are relayed to Zoho Mail, and finally you do the data migration process. So that is about the domain setup, guys. So we'll be proceeding with domain management next. So before we go to domain management, let's quickly take a break for 30 minutes. See you guys back here in another 30 minutes. Thank you.